What's the most effective and practical way to maintain your beautiful high-end knives? Hi, I'm Jed. This is Cook Culture. We sell beautiful high-end knives at Cook Culture, and I've sold beautiful high-end knives for all of my retail career, so that's chasing 30 years. And so I've sold thousands and thousands of knives to people and had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations of how to maintain knives, how to best and most practically maintain knives. And if you have a beautiful high-end knife at home and you are looking to maintain it the absolute best way that you possibly can on a day-to-day basis and also keeping it sharp at home, then I would recommend using a sharpening stone. And sharpening stones come in many different grits and shapes and styles. Like this is a little one, they come larger, they come in different colors is what I mean. And using a stone and learning how to use a stone is going to be the absolute best way for you to maintain your high-end knife at home. You're going to be able to hone a beautiful edge, you're going to get it laser sharp, and it's going to perform the absolute best for you. However, using a stone, any sort of stone, whetstone, that is using water as the lubricant as you're using the stone, the knife on the stone, is a hobby. It takes time. You need to dedicate time to learn how to do it correctly. That's making a lot of mistakes as you go and trying to figure out the edge and really investing a considerable amount of time. And I'm talking several dozen hours really to get it to a point that you can do it adequately. You know, people that do it extremely well have put in hundreds of hours into learning how to do the process fluidly and to get an absolute beautiful edge each and every time on different shaped knives, different types of knives if you're dealing with Western and Japanese. And as I said, it's a real hobby and you're going to get the absolute best result, but it does take time. So when I'm talking to people about maintaining their knives, I try to be really upfront with that process because we do sell stones and people do enjoy the process, but what's really important is understanding, do you want to invest that time? You want a really high-end knife, which is awesome. You know, you've spent good money on a beautifully made blade and it performs extraordinarily well and you want that performance, but how do you make that fit into your everyday life and get that performance from it, but not invest a huge amount of time? And that's a tricky spot. Some people who are real knife aficionados, some people would call themselves knife geeks, would argue that you have to use a stone and you can't use anything else but a stone. And in reality, in the way in which we live our lives and the amount of time that we have for maintaining whatever else we have in the kitchen, putting a huge amount of time into maintaining your knives is not practical for a lot of people. I have lots of customers that are just like, I don't want to do that. That's not where I want to put my time. Others that are like, I just don't have that kind of time to invest. And so where that person is, and that's what this video is for you, if you're like, hey, I want to have a really high-end knife, but I don't want to have to invest a huge amount of investment into the maintenance of that knife, then this is the best way that I've found that people get the job done. So you have yourself a beautiful high-end knife that works incredibly well out of the box and you're very, very happy with it. So maintaining that knife regularly is really important. And this is the job of honing. So sharpening a knife is making the knife sharp to use. If you sharpen, you are grinding the knife with a stone or some sort of material that is going to take the edge off and or grind the edge down and create a new edge. If you're going to maintain the knife daily, weekly, you're honing the knife. And what you're doing is that you are cleaning the knife and you're straightening that edge that is already there and you're making the knife performance ready. And that is done with either a metal or a ceramic steel and or a pull-through knife sharpener. And there are many, many people that are going to cringe at the thought of using a pull-through knife sharpener on a high-end performance knife, high-end Japanese knife, high-end Western knife, because in the past, they have been a brutal tool. They have left a very rugged, rigid, kind of scored up edge and just don't perform well. In the last handful, dozens of years, they have improved, and there are some very, very good options on the market. These are more expensive options. You can buy pull-through sharpeners cheaply, and you can spend more money on them. But what I have found, this example here, this is called MinoSharp, made by a company called Global, who makes a really good Japanese knife. They perform very, very well. And in no way will this ever meet the same performance standards of using a stone, but they are fast and effective to use, and they work very well. They leave a very good edge, not the absolute best edge, but for the great majority of people, the performance that you'll get from using a good quality pull-through sharpener works really, really well. And that will be good enough for most people. So you start splitting hairs on what to use and how to use it and how to get it done. But what I'm trying to convey is the practicality at home of keeping your knives sharp. That is really my main emphasis here. Is if you are worried about sharpening them the wrong way and then never sharpen them and they get dullened and they're just not performing well because you're concerned about them, then they're just not going to be performing very well. So using a pull-through knife sharpener that is practical in your life can work well, because this pull-through sharpener will give you the edge that you want, give you the angle that you want without having to think about it. When you use a rod, which works very, very well for daily maintenance, there is the angle of how you are hitting the knife on that rod and learning, again, the craft of using a rod, which works very well. If you invest the time on how to do it, you can get great results. But the reality of using something like a pull-through knife sharpener is that it is designed to use the angle that you need as you're using it. All you need to do is pull back and forth in this guy here, and it works perfectly well. So it's really up to you on the time that you're wanting to invest. If you want to take the hobby up of sharpening with a stone, you will get the absolute best results. If you will invest a much smaller amount of time in using a rod, it's a great daily tool. And then using something like a good quality, a big emphasis on good quality, pull-through sharpener, you will also get very good results. And you will be very happy getting a weekly and daily maintenance out of a pull-through sharpener. If you're using a rod and a pull-through sharpener, I then highly suggest every 6 months, 8 months, year, depending on the amount you're using that knife, take it somewhere that they know how to sharpen your knife to grind the edge so that you get a perfectly brand new sharpened knife, and then go through your daily, weekly maintenance until it dulls again. The more that you maintain your knife at home, the longer it will last. So if you sharpen your knife, hone your knife using a honing rod or a pull-through sharpener honer, you will prolong the time between sharpening. And the advantage for that is that when you take the knife in for sharpening, you're taking metal off. So the longer in between sharpenings, the longer your knife will last for. It can last for decades and decades and decades. So, I know some people are not going to be happy with my suggestion of using something like a pull-through sharpener. I get that. Some people are very, very particular about how they maintain their knives. That's awesome. I've used a stone extensively. I know how perfect it can do the job once you nail it and get it done right. If that is something that you enjoy, I highly suggest to go down that route. It's very cathartic. It's very enjoyable to get the most blisteringly sharp knife that you possibly can. But for what I've learned, the great majority of people, the methods that I've talked about will get you a really nice sharpened knife for your day-to-day maintenance. So I hope that helps. Please, any questions, leave them below. Thanks.